How to store dehydrated apple pie spice. Can it stay at room temperature, or does it need refrigeration? Can you store it in the freezer? Below we bring some tips on how to store apple pie spice, to prevent it from spoiling very quickly. Tips for storing apple pie spice. Apple pie spice, also known as apple pie spice, is a spice that usually contains a mixture of coriander, cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, cloves and cardamom. But different versions may exist. As it's a dehydrated spice, it should be kept at room temperature, in a dry, dark and cool place. It's very important to stay away from sunlight so it doesn't degrade. Besides, it should remain in an airtight container. It has to be well sealed, to avoid maximum contact with air, which causes its oxidation. Usually apple pie spice can last 2 to 3 years at room temperature, as long as it's kept at the correct temperature. There's no need to store apple pie spice in the refrigerator, unless you live in a very humid place. Even so, you should be careful, because when taking the spice out of the refrigerator, water will form inside the package, spoiling the spice. Therefore, if storing in the refrigerator, keep in an airtight container and remove only the amount you'll use. Don't leave at room temperature. Can you store apple pie spice in the freezer? The freezer can also be used by people who live in very humid places, where everything molds in a matter of days. But it's also not recommended because it will create humidity when you take it out of the freezer to use. Therefore avoid storing in the freezer, and if you store it, put it in an airtight container. When using, remove only what you'll use and store the rest immediately in the freezer. How to know it's spoiled. Apple pie spice usually doesn't spoil. What happens is that over time it loses its properties and will no longer give the flavor it would have when it was new. To use, you can test a little of the spice by rubbing it in the palm of your hand. If you feel the aroma, it's because it can still be used. It's important to note that, despite not spoiling, the spice can get moldy. Therefore carefully check the appearance, if it's been stored for a long time. Don't use moldy spice, as it can be dangerous for your health.